Right guys, just to recap on yesterday really. Yeah, I looked at the videos last night, all the shots, all the footage. Not very impressed. It's long, it's drawn out, you can't see a lot, and it's getting boring. Even I was falling asleep at my own material. I mean, what does that tell you? So what I'm going to try and do is, I'll probably scrub some of that, and I'm going to just go around the bike pointing to what we've actually done, because quite frankly you couldn't see a lot anyway. Some of this you'll be able to see when we put the new one back in. That really is when it's going to be more important, but this really is not that important. It depends on how you look at it. If you're quite patient and you're quite happy to, you know, sit there looking at an area which you can hardly see, then great, knock yourself out, be my guest. But personally, I'm not that happy with it, so I'm going to try and address that some way or another, and we'll see how we go. Okay, let's get you over here. Now this is on the phone, this shot, so it's not going to be that stable, so please bear with me. Let me take you off the pod. So what have we done? Well, see if I can get it from the top. The tank's gone. Seat's gone, obviously. All the visibles are gone. Let's talk about the engine. The chain's off. The sprocket's off. The carbs are off. The airbox is out. Makes more room. You need the airbox out anyway. All the brake pedals and footrests, all those are gone. They're out. It's all over there. The pipes are off. You can see it all over there laid out. Now, coming back to the bike, what I intend to try and do today, and try and film, is we're going to take the head off. To do that, we need to take the cam chain guide on the top, this little chap here. Then we'll do the caps, the cam cover caps, which is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they need to be done a little bit each time, so you release the tension from the valves on the cams and it goes nicely. When all that's done, then we'll have a go at taking the head off. Now the head probably hasn't been off this bike since God knows how long, so it may take a little bit of patience. I think it's always good to have a bit of patience on something like this anyway, but we've got to break the seal between the head and the barrel, so that may take a bit of time. Oh, a couple of other things. I've drained the oil, the filter's out, and I do that. There's many reasons for doing it now, but one of the main reasons is that when you put the jack underneath it, and I don't know if I can get down there and show you this. Oh, I've put it back in again. I will take that out, but when that's out, this becomes, the belly pan becomes relatively level, so that when you put your wood on there, which is between the belly pan and the jack, it tends to keep the engine fairly level. But we'll come on to that later. The points are gone. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I may take it off. I may take this cover off. So we go on that one. The points plate's hanging down. It's not a big deal. I will take this back out the way when I take this engine mount off, and the wire will come back. Brake pedals right down. As I said in an earlier video, if I haven't already said earlier, I'll start again. As I said in an earlier video, all the earths are wired up. I put a piece of wire through all 3 lugs, so that we know they're together. Although I may replace that. Look at that earth strap. Not earth strap, that's the live strap to the starter. Is it the live strap? Yeah, it's the live. Straight off the battery. That will probably be replaced. We've taken the blue connector out, which is the alternator feed, and that's going back around the other side. Let me show you what I mean. This is it here. That will come off with the alternator here. So there's not a lot more to take off. I'll try and film some of it. As I said, if you do get bored with it, just skip through to the points that you find interesting. I understand you don't be sitting looking at a screen being bored with, you know, parts you can't see. But I get a problem here with this LED lights. These LED lights are not that good. They're great for working, but they're no good for filming because you tend to get this strobe. And I've got to look into this because I've been playing around with shutter speeds on the GoPro, and I have to say there's a lot of messing about to get it where you can get a picture without the strobe, and then as soon as the camera moves around towards the garage door, sunlight, you just get white out, absolute white out, really bad. So bear with me on this. This is why I've gone back to the phone. The phone seems to adapt a lot better. Right, I'm going to put you back in the pod and then we'll continue. Okay, right, this one's got to come off now. Good old JOS screwdrivers. I mentioned these yesterday. They do grab the screw a lot better. It's not on that tight actually. Let's get all these screws out. This is different to the 1100. The 1100 has a cup with magnets inside that cup that spins round on the stator, which is locked into here. On the Z1 it seems to be the opposite way round. The rotor is on the shaft, the crankshaft, and the stator is in the cover. Now, there's two there which are long. You have to be careful when you put them back. Now he's going to be a pig to get off. They normally are. Oh, maybe not. Oh, there's one more screw. Stupid me. Right, so there's all these screws. Now as it comes off the dowels, the magnets will probably try and grab it. Plus the fact we've got idler sprocket here, idler gear with a starter motor system. Oh, there he comes. This is the gear I was telling you about. This hole here is where the starter motor shaft, which is obviously a gear, slots into this gear, which then turns the sprag bearing or free wheel bearing, turns the engine that way to start it up. Then once it's running, this just free runs. This is, I think we call this either a sprag bearing or a, is it centrifugal force clutch? Can't remember. I've always known it as a sprag bearing because these are on. We used to use the system, much the same system, on radio control helicopters that I used to fly years ago. Oh, that was some time ago. Where's my rag? My rag's gone. Right, not to worry. Let's just put these screws in there. I'm gonna put this over with the other bits and pieces. Just bear with me, guys. Might have to get that off with the impact wrench, but we'll see how we go. Right, I'm going to leave that for the time being. What I am going to do is I'm going to start work on the head. Now some of this you're going to see, but it's mirrored. What I do on this side is much the same as the other side, so you're not going to miss a lot. Wrench. Let's just loosen them off. 1. If you can't see, excuse me. 2, 3, 4. And there's quite a lot of tension on this chain. So we'll take our time doing each one a little bit at a time. Got to be careful here. If ever you take these off, I might have mentioned this before, there's rubbers here. It's very easy for those to drop down the cam chain tunnel. I mean, it's not such a big deal on this one because we're taking the engine out and stripping it. But if you were just doing your shell bearings on your cams or something like that, and you wanted to take them out, you obviously got to take this off. So I get a little wrench in there with a small extension. Now, that extension's too long. Can't get in there with that one either. Let's get a smaller one. Much better. There goes a lovely bike. Just outside where I live, some really long straight country road. Of course the speed limit's supposed to be 60, but a lot of them don't take any notice of that. So we can get that side. Excuse my block view. Wouldn't it be nice to have your eyes as a camera? Been watching too many Mission Impossible films. Like I said earlier, guys, if you find these bits boring, don't worry, just speed on and find the bits of interest. It is a bit tedious, but it's coming slowly. This one does seem a bit tight. Maybe this one's been helicoil, I don't know. Right, so I always try and get these all in one go. There it is. Bolts and all, washers, the lot, as a unit. You pinch the rubbers, it usually holds the bolts where they are. Now the cam chain tension was taken off yesterday, so that's quite free. So it's just a question now of taking the cam covers off. The cam caps. 1, 2. We'll do one camshaft at a time. Click. You can hear it give. Watch your thumbs here because you can catch them. It's more of a controlled. Just break the lock on the thread. There we are. Now let's see which lobes are pushing. That lobe's under tension. These two are not. So I'm going to release this one first on this side. A little bit at a time. Sometimes you have to give them a tap for them to release on the dowels. They're pretty clever design, these caps, but they're not as strong as they look. They can be broken in the middle here, so go careful. Just see them coming away, a little bit at a time. Do a little bit on this side. Although these are all loose, there don't seem to be any tension on this one. Again, a little bit at a time. Must be close to T14 actually on the timing, because this lobe is, hang on a minute, we think, no, maybe a T13, because these two are pointing inwards. Can you see that? So it must be very close to T13. So that means that one's not under pressure, nor is that one? Yeah, that one is. This one isn't, and this one isn't. The reason you might need to tap them is because they do, as I said earlier, they do get out of line as they come up sometimes, and they stick on the dowels. I think this one's about to come off. I'll give it a tap. And I've got a little engineering hammer I use this because the rubber ones don't always tap it well enough. Or you could use a wrench, I suppose. No, that's no good. Stupid idea. Let's come around the other side. Where's my little engineering hammer? Here he is. Very gently. Now, he's free. All the bolts are out. So he's free. And so is this one free. Now this area is where I tend to keep things away from the rest of it. And I'm going to lay these caps and camshafts on this surface up here. You can't see it at the moment, but I'll show you later. Number one, see if the dowel wants to come out. Sometimes they jam. So it's going to be a pig. That's right, we'll get that out later. Number two, one dowel stuck. Go around that side so you can see what I'm doing. Right, so now ready to take the outlet cam out. Bring him back. We come over the change, and there's our outlet cam. And that is not, I believe, a genuine Z1 cam, because the Z1s originally were hollow. Nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong, but that may be from a late 900 or a Z900. Let's put this over there. The shells are with it. They've come out with the caps, and you can see the shells still in their head here. So now it's the inlet cam. Again, bit of time and patience. See which one's under pressure. This one's under pressure. That one is not, and that one is not. So we'll slacken this one off first. Break the lock. I only turn them half a turn at a time at this point. you can see them move because the spring inside the valve on this lobe is pushing up. This one's pushing up. I'll undo the bolts. You think they're loose and then they become quite tight again because it's the spring pushing up on the lobe which is pushing the cam up. It's more or less getting to the end of its spring tension now on that valve, so these should not start, they should start being more loose. Trick is not to rush it. Take your time. It pays. The last thing you want to do is strip a thread where these mount. Right now they're all staying loose, so he's free. So that means the spring has run out of push on that valve. This valve here, number 2 inlet. They're all free, off the thread. They're all free off the thread. No, not. Won't need to tap that one. The last thing I would do on these is to go out there with a wrench and take them off like that, because you'll lose all the feel. You put too much tension on one bolt, on one bolt within the cap, and if it's the wrong one with the pressure on the springs, it can just cause some nasty issues. So this one's coming off. Got the dowel for that one. That dowel's stuck in. We'll get that one out at a later date. That one goes there. I'm going to show you something, guys. And this will confirm what I'm talking about. Let me take you off the pod a sec. You see that gap there? That gap is caused by this one pushing up on the lobe, which is directly touching the shim, and that's why this camshaft has risen up. And this is why I always say, and this is just my way of doing it, all what I do on these videos is the way I do it. This is why I say it pays to do these equally as you undo them. Also that applies to this side as well, but that's where the pressure is on this cam at this moment in time in relation to where the crank is. I'll put you back. give this little chap a tap. He's come up. One dowel goes in there. Is that dowel loose? No. There's always one dowel in each one that's difficult to get out. Not a big deal then. So I now need something in there to stop that cam chain from going in the tunnel. Now I know the engine's coming out, and you could say, well, why worry about that because the engine's coming out? Well, the reason being is because I might want to turn that crank, and I don't want that chain goofing up the sprocket on the crank and then you find you can't turn it. So I'll keep the cam chain out. So this is my rod, goes through there, just rest there, no big deal. Up comes the camshaft, and out it comes. Yeah, it's in good order. It's in very good order. Put that over there, and that one. Be back in a minute, folks. Right, folks, I'm going to need to move you because I'm going to need to get to that position there. We're going to start making preparations now for taking the head off, or at least loosening the stud nuts. 12 on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the same on the other side. So let's see what we can do. I think that's a 14 mil. Right, we're all ready now to loosen the head. Now I tend to do this much the same as you put the head on. I go in a pattern because I don't want all the tension being released on this side and no tension released on that side. It's not so important taking it off as what it is putting on, but at the same time it's just more of a safety net. one. Mainly to break the seal. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. Now I probably should have undone them beforehand. To get them out, I need to take the plugs out. One's loose, and number 4 is loose. Didn't take a lot. That one may have a problem. That one didn't take a lot either. Oh, it seems to be right. I think that's the same bolts as they use on the cam cover. I'm going to put those plugs back in just for no real reason actually, but just so I know that those holes are filled. It doesn't matter, it's all coming apart anyway, but old habits. So now we know that's loose. I'm going to go around it now and slacken them right off. All the tension, I believe, now is out the head, so this should be alright to go where we want to go. Some of these inward stud nuts are quite rusty actually. If you guys get bored with this bit, I don't blame you for speeding on. If you want to watch, great. If not, I understand. That's 4. Put them down there a second. Got a new gasket on there, so I'm not too worried about that. Well, you come out with it. Good out. He's loose. He's off. He's off. He's off. And this one will be off in about 2 seconds. Now, there's a point here. These are copper gaskets. One, can you see these guys? 1, 2, same on the other side. They are special because that is the oil way to feed the cams. I can't get them out of my fingers, I'm going to get a magnet. One, 2, so they're all off, all 6 are clear on that side. Three, 4, so we should have 12. 2, 4, 6, and 6. There's one missing. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's one missing. Now where may he be? That doesn't make sense, does it? Is it in the socket? There he is, lurking. So that's 12. So this is where we have to be very careful not to break fins. Not to break fins. If we tap up like that, the chances, we've got on that side, if we tap up like that, the chances of breaking fins, I'd say, was quite high. So I tend not to do that. Not unless I have to. So what we tend to do is tap it from the front to break the seal and then work it up. Bring you back there, guys, because I might need to get in there. Right. The other danger, of course, is snapping an exhaust stud off. Let's see what we got. And I believe the seal is broken. Yeah, he's gone. Notice no tapping on the fins. So, let's rock him a little bit. Let's go on the other side. Definitely loose now, so we need to try and balance it widthways so it comes up level. That way it won't snag. I say that, but they normally do. Let that hang, that won't pull itself back in. We've got a table behind the camera which has been prepared to receive the head. So the head's off. There's our O-ring. Don't know whether that's a Kawasaki O-ring. If it is, they're very expensive. Pays not to use these again. You always use a fresh one. Now some of the manufacturers, third-party manufacturers, they're not quite, I would say they're okay, providing you stretch this a little bit. I found that on the 1100. Move you around a little bit. Providing you stretch this a little bit. And I left it on the 1100 in the recess in the engine, which I don't know if you can see is here, for at least a couple of days. And I greased it as well, so that it sits in the recess stretched and greased. That way it tends to stay put. Once it stays put for quite a while, you can normally get away with not getting any movement. Bores look glazed, but they're not too bad. Yeah. So the next thing would be these little chaps, cam chain guide sprockets. This one is the one which is connected to the cam chain tensioner. If you can see that, it pushes on it in there. Let's put that on there. Right, I'm going to call it a halt now for a while. I'm just going to tidy up a little bit. But that's how far we are at the moment. We've got the head off. Obviously to do that, we took the cams and the cam caps. Start again. We took the cam caps out, and we also removed the cam chain guide at the very top of the head. Loosened off all the studs, the nuts on the top of these, and it came away quite nicely. So there we have it. Right, yeah, I'm going to stop the camera there, guys, and I'll be back later. Right, guys, I'm back. As you saw earlier, we took the rotor cover off, stator cover, whatever you want to call it. Now there's a trick here to get that off. If you haven't got the puller and you haven't got the right tools, the Kawasaki tools, you can improvise. This shaft is an old shaft from the back wheel, this little chap here. I think it's either that or the shaft from the swinging arm. Either way, it's got the thread on it. I can't remember the thread, but I think it's a 19 mil. I'd have to check that, but I'm pretty sure either that one or that one will fit that. So we're going to hold that, and we're going to see if we can turn it with probably the impact. Put a few sockets over. Yeah. So what size is it? 22. It's a 22. Half-inch drive for the wrench. Now I've got the wrench set gently because I don't want to go crazy with this. And we have to do it up. So it's got to turn it in that way to push on the shaft to pop that off. I'm not going to hit the rotor. Take that idle gear out just to be on the safe side. Gonna take him out. Really, the camera should be where I am, I should be where you are. There he goes. We'll have some oil dripping on the floor. I want to keep my cardboard clean. I'll leave them on there until I get this puller out. I call it a puller even though it's a spindle or axle or shaft, but it does much the same job. Getting the tools, some of the special Kawasaki tools for this bike now, I mean, you can get them, but you'll be spending an awful lot of money. Get me rag a sec. I'm going to mop that oil up. This is worth its weight in gold. If you haven't got one of these, you will struggle. I'm sorry, but you will. Sometimes you can use this on its own without the impact driver. Tap it, turn it a bit, tap it, turn it a bit, and it may give, but it's so much easier with one of those. So let's take the sprag bearing off and the rotor. And bear in mind there is a Woodruff key in here. The key would be underneath, wouldn't it? There's also, I don't know if you can see this from there, there's also a spacer, and the chamfer goes on the inside. Just so as you know, this has been thread locked. You can see the crumbs of it there. We will take that one off because I don't want to lose it, and I will put it in there. This is going to go in a bag. I don't want that getting any dirt on it in those roller bearings whatsoever. Some parts you can get away with leaving them out. And the price of this unit is just ridiculous. So we can get it in this bag. So we can take that one off. Leave that in there. We won't turn it over. Let's put that in another bag. If you guys can see these in here, these rollers, these are on springs. This is what gives you your one-way bearing. It bites that way to turn the motor over, and once it's running, it freewheels. And these are all on springs, as you can see. Let me come closer. They're on springs. That can go back, that can go back. And bolt, I think I'll put that bolt in that bag once I've cleaned it off. So that gives us a handle. But I have forgot something. Can any of you guys remember? Yeah, the Woodruff key. It would be on the bottom of the crank, wouldn't it? There he is. Don't really want to put a scratch on him. That can also go in the bag. Spending lots of time going to that same bag. So that's that bit done. As you can see, we're edging closer. Now that's mostly everything. I think it's everything on this side now that you can take off to make it lighter. Let's put this back on. Protects the threads. I can put this back in my box. Back in my box of special tools. We'll try and take this little chap off. What size is that? 17 maybe? Yeah. I don't know why I'm using a wrench. I could use my ratchet set. Oh, I've got a socket that big, haven't I, here? Means I've got to get off me fat bum and go and get a socket. 20, 21, 19, 22, and I've got the 17-inch socket. I can't be bothered to get off my arse today. It's Sunday. Should be fairly easy to undo anyway. There he goes. That comes off. That comes out with the O-ring. We'll put all that in there. Craned. Quite a nice crane job, that, isn't it? You can't see it from here, but I'm looking at it as it should be on the crankcase where I put that JB Weld on the new engine. That's nice, that's how it should be. Not doing all good, is it? Right, let's put this over on the pile. Right, let's take it off the pod and show you what we got. Put my light on, and my light is on. We've taken that one off now. We've taken the thrust bearing off. I don't think there's anything else on there. No, there's a circlip there, but we don't need to take that. That's to house the bearings. Taking the positive crankcase ventilation cap off. I'm going to leave the clutch pusher on there. It will pull out, but I'm going to leave that in. We'll take it out later. And that's it, really. So now we can start work on the other side. Maybe take the clutch cover off to make it a bit lighter. I may take the oil pressure switch off, and I think I might take the block off. Don't know yet. See what the weight is with the block on. We could possibly take this one off as well, the chain cover, or the sprocket protector casting, I think that's what you might call it. Maybe take that off as well. That's it. So we've got one mount there, one mount there, a mount here, mount here. We all take everything out from this side with the engine supported, and the engine comes out from the other side. Yeah, so there we are, slowly getting closer. Right guys, what I've done at the moment, I have taken all this off here because I was beginning to feel that when we lift the engine out, even though the brake pedal was right way down, it may cause complications. So I have taken all the brake system off. I've also taken off the points plate as well. Made a note of the wiring codes and where they all go, so that's all done. So now the engine is more or less ready to come out. I've undone these. This is a mount. There's a mount here, a mount there, which is not doing anything at the moment because it goes through to the back. It's a very strange looking mount. If you look here, it goes through like that. That pair at the top of that pair goes up inside, I do believe, and then that screws through it, and it sort of clamps it to the lower mount. So that's all put to one side. So what I'm going to do now is have a good tidy up, and then we'll get the jack out, make preparations for the engine to be moved. Now I need to find a piece of wood, preferably not chipboard or anything like that. It needs to be pretty sturdy. I'm going to lower you guys down here with a bit of luck so you can see what's going on. Well, the best I can. The good thing is here, when the sump, where the sump is, the belly pan, once you've taken the filter out, it makes it relatively level, so it's a flat surface, which is good because you can spread the load with the wood, this piece of wood. So remember, it's only to take the weight of the motor, not to lift it up in the sense, just to take the strain. So we need to line it all up. I'm pumping now to see if we can get that lined up on the that's fairly square on the belly pan, so I'm hoping that will hold it relatively well. Let's see how we go. Going to take some of the engine mounts out now. You've got to watch your fingers here. If you do this, be very careful. Where's my steel pin bar? There he is. This is my drift, which I'm going to use to tap out the engine mounts. That one's out. It's still supported up here, remember. So you know that one's out. So we've only got this one and this one. Going to bring you up a bit higher, guys, so you can see. Then we go and get me trolley. That's the rear mount, so I'm just checking everything. Pays to check a lot. That jack could come further back. So I'm gonna, whilst it's on that mount here, I'm gonna bring that jack towards the rear. Now when I let that jack down, we shouldn't be able to move this one. It should fall back on this one with the weight. Maybe it's still being held a little bit by that one. It's not a problem. So it's rocking on the centre stand now, so we know we've pumped it up too high. There we go. Put that one there. that one's out. That's the front one. That's the back one. Let's see if we can move that up and get that spacer out. And I believe that will be it. Well, I've just noticed something, so I'm going to put that front one back in. Just to steady it. This one I forgot. I don't know what size it is. Let me just check. I think it's 17. It's none of those special bolts. This one's on the left hand side. That one's tight, so it means it's bearing some weight. And that's the only one now that is. So let's see what the jack's doing. Yep. Let's take this off. Just for safety. I've just put the rear one in because I want to make sure everything is there to stop it from wobbling, so I can take this one off. So he's out. So now I've got to undo this triangle. That bolt's out, that mount is out. So now it's on the jack. It's being steadied by this one. That's dropped a bit. So that one's out, which can go there. Now when you take that one off, I think we're still recording, I hope so. That's the spacer that goes between the two. So the only thing that's holding it now is the jack. As you can see, it moves. So you can put a bit of rag there to stop it from pushing on the... That's the last thing I want it to do, is to mark the frame. Watch your fingers, guys. That's better. So he's ready to come out. As you can see, you can raise the engine. This is the beauty with the jack. Now it's pretty wobbly, but we can get that up a fair old way. Probably about there. Whoops. We go up again. All I'm doing is just steadying it. The wood and the jack are taking the weight. So we want our cushion, which I've now stopped myself from getting hold of. And we want our trolley. But before I do that, I'm going to push all these tools back out the way, because they will be in the way where they are. Right, I'm going to stop it there. I hope you've seen quite a bit there. We're now ready to come out. I'll be back when we actually move the engine out.